On the news, President Buhari jets out to Egypt for forum on sustainable peace. Nigeria lawmakers probe DSS invasion of Abuja court. And U.S. lawmakers file impeachment charges against President Donald Trump. A warm welcome to News Now. I am Fidelia Aguncha. President Muhammadu Buhari has departed Abuja for Aswan, Egypt, to attend the Aswan Forum designed to set an agenda for sustainable peace and development in Africa. The president, accompanied by Governors Amadu Fintiri of Adamawa State, Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, and Malam Buni of Yobe State, departed the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, for Egypt at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. The forum, which held from December 11 to 12, is an initiative to address the interconnections between peace and development in Africa. It is being launched by the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in his capacity as chairman of the African Union (AU) and as an advocate of post-conflict reconstruction and development in Africa. The gathering is expected to bring together heads of state and government, leaders from regional and international organizations, financial institutions, private sectors, and civil societies, as well as scholars, among others. The National Human Rights Commission has expressed strong concerns over reports of human rights violation by security agencies in the country. The Executive Secretary of the Commission, Tony Ojukwu, voiced the concerns during a walk organized by the Commission to commemorate the International Human Rights Day in Abuja. Also at the rally was former lawmaker Shehu Sani, who charged the federal government to respect and uphold the rights of all Nigerian citizens.
What we are saying is that they must do it with dignity, with respect for human rights. They must do it within the confines of the law. There is separation of powers in this country. The courts are a part of the government of this country, and it is not right for any law enforcement agent to disrespect the law courts. So, if a citizen commits an offense, the law enforcement agents are entitled to try the person. But they must try the person within the law. They must respect the person's dignity. The Constitution says that every citizen is innocent until proven guilty. The law enforcement agent should not proceed as if somebody is already guilty before it is sanctioned by the court. That is our issue with Showering.
As far as we are concerned, a day like this is a day to bring to the knowledge of the people to be vigilant in defense of their rights, and also to pressure on government to respect fundamental rights. When you have court orders being disobeyed, when you have people being arrested for criticizing governments and dissenting, when you have a desecration of the rule of law, you are completely sinking the whole democratic process. And that is totally unacceptable. So we, on this day, have a collective moral duty and constitutional duty to demand that the governments all over the world, including our own, respect the rights of all Nigerians.
In the same vein, human rights group Amnesty International has also charged the Nigerian government to be more committed to promoting the rights of citizens. Nigeria Country Director of the agency, Osai Ojigo, gave the charge while speaking to TV360 Nigeria. Ojigo also called for the unconditional release of Omoyele Sowore and Agba Jalingo, as well as other Nigerians who have been illegally detained by the government.
Nigeria is part of the United Nations and the Committee of Nations, so it cannot ratify treaties, then at home decides not to put flesh to those treaties. So it's really important for the authorities to recognize that they have an obligation, first, to the people in the country to ensure that their rights are respected. And on no account should the authorities use their systems, their agents, to oppress people or to repress the truth from coming out. We want to see a change in terms of positive recognition for people who speak truth to power. So like Jalingo, for example, who decided to reveal information about a corruption incident that came to his notice, calling on the government to investigate. So what we would have expected is for the government to investigate and not jail him and accuse him of so many charges, including treason, which, if convicted, could lead to the death penalty, which Amnesty International also does not approve of. And then we're also seeing a situation where people are being held indefinitely regardless of court orders. And we really call on the authorities that the show of brutality and violence that was meted out to Shore and Bakare recently is something that should not have happened. And we continue to call for its unconditional release and the unconditional release of all those who have been unlawfully and illegally detained by the police, by the DSS, the military, in whatever shape or form. Charge them to court if they've committed any crimes and follow court orders when they have been granted. That's the only way we can all live as decent people in a society that respects rule of law.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the invasion of the Federal High Court premises by the Department of State Services. Operatives of the agency had broken into the court while attempting to rearrest Omoyele Sowore, convener of the #Revolution Now movement. The lower legislative chamber made a resolution following a motion introduced during Tuesday's plenary session by Ndudi Elumelu, the minority leader. Elumelu said the lawmakers need to investigate the incident, which he described as an attempt to overpower the judiciary. He commended the exhibition of thuggery. He condemned the exhibition of thuggery, brute force, lawlessness, contempt, and disregard for the rule of law during the incident at the court. The matter was subsequently referred to the relevant House committees to investigate and report back within 2 weeks. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana says the federal government is planning to charge Omoyele Sowore with terrorism to justify its continued detention of the journalist and rights activist. Falana has also rejected the claims of the Department of State Services, saying that it never invaded the Federal High Court in Abuja. Speaking at an event in Lagos, Falana revealed that the DSS had sent a delegation to apologize to Justice Ijoma Ojukwu for the invasion. He therefore asked why the secret police will be apologizing to the judge if it did not invade the court premises. In the same vein, legal practitioner G.T. Ogunye accused the federal government of abusing court process by filing different charges against Sowore.
The SS management sent a delegation to the Federal High Court in Abuja to apologize officially over the criminal invasion of the court on Friday. I did disclose yesterday that after the armed invasion of the court, the judge involved summoned the prosecutor and myself to our chambers, where she expressed an indignation over what was a sacrilegious attack on our court. Both the lawyer to the SSS and the lead SSS officer in the court premises apologized profusely. I was therefore flabbergasted and even embarrassed when one guy that claims to be a journalist addressed the press on behalf of the SSS and claimed that the SSS was not in court. We have the photographs. I know the names of not less than 5 of them. At the right time, we shall expose them.
When the state wants to detain you, particularly a state like the Nigerian state, they will invent all sorts of lies just to keep you behind bars. And a lot of persons are saying that, well, the state said that you have committed new offenses, there are fresh charges. Why should there be fresh charges? That's indeed an abuse of the court process. You filing charges upon charges just to keep your victim perpetually behind bars.
Managing Director of Maersk Nigeria Limited, Gildas Toho, is now in a stable but critical condition in the hospital after he was attacked in his Ikoyi home on Sunday. The Cameroonian MD Toho and his wife Bernadette, a Bulgarian national, were attacked in a robbery masterminded by some domestic workers in their Ikoyi estate. Bernadette died after she was allegedly stabbed and forced to transfer some money to her attackers. The suspect confessed to the attack, explaining that their motive was because the couple wants to refuse to assist them financially. The Lagos State Police Command has now arrested the two assailants and taken them to the Homicide Section of the State Criminal Investigation Department, SCID, Mantiyaba. In a statement released on Tuesday, Maersk and Regional Managing Director of Africa, David Williams, sent their sympathies to Toho and his family, adding that they're supporting the investigation in every way possible. While still on security, protesters have stormed the French embassy in Lagos, accusing France of meddling in Nigeria's security affairs. Civil society organization Africa Liberation Vanguard, ALV, led the group of protesters, mainly war veterans, to the French consulate in Lagos on Monday. In an open letter, they urged President Emmanuel Macron to support Nigeria's fight against terrorism and block the sale of arms to Boko Haram terrorists. They also lamented the recent attack in Cameroon, where Boko Haram abducted a total of 18 people.
This is not a violent protest, and it is not in any way intended to cause bodily harm to anyone of French origin at the embassy or in Nigeria. But this is a protest that is both psychological and emotional for us, given our age and realization of the French support for the Boko Haram terrorist group is overwhelming and not in the best country of Nigeria and Africa as a whole. We wish to use this medium to intimate you that Nigerians and the rest of Africa are indeed aware of the covert support France is extending to the Boko Haram terrorist group operating in the northeast of Nigeria and other African countries. We wish to state that this is an affront to our sensibilities as a people and another attempt at colonization of Nigeria by France. This is not only appalling, it is also of poor taste that will be resisted by every strength of the imagination. The recent example of Cameroon, where Boko Haram adopted 18 people, is another example of how France is expanding the frontiers of terrorism in Africa. The African Liberation Movement is giving the French authorities a 21-day ultimatum to stop funding the nefarious activities of the Boko Haram terrorist group.
Still in Lagos State, the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has appointed Adedamola Dosemo to replace Bolaji Sanusi as managing director of the state signage and advertising agency, LASA, according to a statement by Gboyega Akosile, the chief press secretary of the state governor. Dosemo's appointment followed the expiration of Sanusi's tenure as managing director on September 13, 2019. The statement described Dosemo as an industry expert with over 12 years' experience in outdoor advertising, media, telecommunications, and engineering sectors. Adedamola Dosemo is a graduate of mechanical engineering from Yaba College of Technology, Lagos, and a postgraduate diploma from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Osun State. He is also a member of the Project Management Institute and the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON. His appointment as LASA's managing director takes immediate effect. Winners have emerged in the 14th Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Journalism, with print journalists dominating the list. A total of 13 journalists were awarded and commended at the award ceremony, which held on Monday in Lagos, Nigeria. There is more in this next report. As the world commemorates the International Anti-Corruption Day for 2019, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism is celebrating journalists whose works have exposed corruption in the public and private sectors in Nigeria. One of those being recognized is Ibanga Isine of the Next Edition newspaper. The 2015 CNN African Journalist Awardee emerged the overall winner for the night, bagging the Investigative Journalist of the Year award for his 27-page report on how bribe-taking security operatives force Nigerians to pay dearly for food. Receiving the award, Isine charged journalists not to be discouraged by the recent clampdown on the media by the government.
Journalism is not a crime. We are going through a lot in this country, and it's as if the government sees us as enemy, or we are enemies of state. In spite of that, I want to encourage our colleagues everywhere in this country to stand up and do the needful. If we allow our pens to rest, this country will disintegrate.
Of the 194 journalists who sent in entries this year, only 13 were awarded and commended. One of them is Femi Falana, a reporter from the Punch newspaper who emerged top in the print category. He shares with us a story that bagged him this award.
It was about a senior lecturer who forged certificates, plagiarized, and he had been in the system for years. You understand? So we discovered it and then we started reporting on it. But this guy was being protected by very powerful people in the system. It was like nothing was going to happen. But because we continued, we were consistent, it was eventually suspended, sacked, and the certificates and everything were withdrawn. You understand? So, I mean, I am happy about the fact that I was able to get results at the end of that report. And I believe that the system will be the better for it.
The Anti-Corruption Defender Award was received by Amnesty International for efforts to promote press freedom and human rights.
It's a big boost for us. It's actually made it possible for us to know that this work we are doing, even though we don't get accolades often, it's a recognition that we are doing great work. It's also an encouragement for us to do more, and most especially to keep the team going. Because oftentimes when we are attacked, we do not expect it because we think we are doing a great job, which is providing service to everyone. And we are calling for account where injustice has happened. So you don't expect to be attacked for doing this work. But increasingly, groups like us, human rights defenders, are getting attacked. So getting an award like this means that defending human rights is something to be proud of, and it's something that should be encouraged.
Through this award launched in 2005, the Wole Soyinka Center has encouraged investigative reporting among Nigerian journalists. The group is also challenging journalists to go beyond just reporting stories to ensuring their works have meaningful impact on the society.
It's very important to keep this going to ensure that the media, investigative journalism in particular, is exposed and then we get impact. So one thing we ask our journalists when we run trainings for them is, yes, it's good and fantastic to do stories, but after the stories, what next? So we drive our journalists, we drive those that we train, that beyond just doing stories, you have to ensure that your story has an impact to it. What is the response that it has gotten?
In the past 14 years, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism has produced 48 laureates and 9 investigative journalists of the year. The group is, however, seeking improved funding to continue this award, which is now reason to become one of the most prestigious in Nigeria. Fidelia Aguncha, TV360, Lagos. Our news now will continue in just a moment. Don't go away.
Whilst the crash nurseries and universities provide from possessing the problem also
that the election have been postponed and Nigerians have been reacting to that.
Local area of Lagos as early as 7 a.m. Some minutes past the incident has been managed.
back. Let's now talk business with Annetta Felix. Hello, Annetta.
Hello, Fidelia.
So I hear there's been a change in the leadership of AMCON. Could you tell us more about this?
That's true. President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Edward Adamu, Deputy Governor for Corporate Services at the Central Bank of Nigeria, as the new chairman of the Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON. The appointment was contained in a letter forwarded to the Senate and read by the Senate President Ahmed Lawan during Tuesday's plenary. Edward replaces Muiz Banire, who was appointed in July 2018 as head of the corporation. According to the amended AMCON Act that the president signed into law in August, the chairman of the corporation must be from the CBN. In the letter, President Buhari also urged members of the Red Chamber of the National Assembly to confirm Adamu's appointment. It's coming a day after the presidency announced the appointment of Mohammed Nami as the new executive chairman of the FIRS. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has called on the federal government to declare a state of emergency in the power sector over the intractable problem faced in the sector. He made the call at a one-day roundtable discussion held in Abuja on addressing Nigeria's power problems. Lawan called for measurable roadmaps in tackling the challenges, stressing that the National Assembly would not leave the implementation of decisions on the executive alone. On his part, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Power, Senator Gabriel Siswam, said that some of the assumptions of the privatization were based on a lot of flaws in relation to population. He said that the essence of the roundtable was for Nigerians to deeply appreciate all the issues involved in the power sector.
It's really disheartening that we are still talking about 4,000 megawatts. We say we have a maximum capacity of 12,000, we can't take more than 5,000. I don't understand this. I believe that we have to declare a state of emergency on power, and courageous decisions must be taken by government. What do we need to do? I keep emphasizing revisiting the privatization because apparently there are flaws, and that we have to address.
To be the most important ingredient to resolve these challenges, which is strategies and effective coordination and collaboration of all players in the sector.
The challenges in the power sector can be categorized into 5 broad areas, which includes but not limited to institutional, governance, infrastructural, political, legislative, and environmental. Let me therefore briefly explain these areas. Institutional and governance. Most institutions of government saddled with the responsibility of managing the power sector lack the capacity to function effectively. Ministry of Power, Bureau for Public Enterprises, MBET, and NEC will require different sets of performance indicators to drive their different oversight activities. Sadly, Mr. President, the reality is that most of these institutions do not have any discernible framework for monitoring and evaluation.
After this break, we're taking a look at trading activities on the NSC. It's a second straight day of loss on the NSC as the all-share index is closing lower today by 26,384.21 basis points, or minus 1.11% lower. The market cap is also shedding today to close at 12.734 trillion naira. And let's take a look at the percentage laggards today. Nestle Nigeria PLC is the biggest loser with a 50 naira loss on its share price, followed by MTN Nigeria PLC that's losing just 2 naira there. As well as we can also see Dangote Cement and Arabico PLC, which is losing 43 kobo today. Now, on the other hand, we see that our percentage gainers are led by the healthcare sector, with EcoCorp PLC leading the chart with a 15 kobo gain, as you can see here, as well as GlaxoSmithKline selling 1 kobo more than it did yesterday. Moving on now, we see that, yes, the financial services sector also recording gains today, with First City Monument Bank and Zenith Bank gaining just 7 and 5 kobo respectively. And here's the market summary for you. 196.291 million shares traded, valued at 3.551 billion naira, and a total of over 3,000 deals. And on the foreign scene, not so good news here. It's a bearish market here. FTSE, Dow Jones, and Nikkei are all down to 0.28%, 0.024%, and 0.088% respectively. And that's all the stock news for today, Fidelia.
Well, thank you, Annette, for that update. To the foreign scene, U.S. House Democratic leaders have unveiled 2 articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump, accusing him of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The president is said to have withheld aid to Ukraine for domestic political reasons, which include pressing for investigations of his political rival, Joe Biden. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Gerald Nadler said Trump had undermined the integrity of the 2020 election and jeopardized national security, adding that the president is not above the law. The committee is expected to vote this week on whether to send the formal charges to the full House. If the House approves the articles, the Senate would hold a trial to decide whether to remove the president from office. And in sports, developing Nigeria's sport education requires collaboration between the government and the private sector. This was a submission of speakers at the unveiling of a partnership between the Water Football Club of Abuja and Waldorf Noah Academy to discover football talent for the national teams. The partnership was sealed in Abuja when the Waldorf Noah Academy launched a world-class sport education school in Yabi, Abuja, Nigeria. Our correspondent was there and now reports.
Top government officials, Super Eagles ex-internationals, the academia and other stakeholders have come together to witness this collaboration between Waldorf Noah Sport Academy and Water Football Club to test run a world-class sport education facility. Government representatives who were present at the ceremony reaffirmed the commitment of this present administration to open up the educational space and encourage youth development in sports education through public-private partnership.
The President has also made a pronouncement recently that all out-of-school children must be compelled to go to school, and very soon that we might have to resort to legal action to ensure that parents allow their children to go to school.
The Minister of Finance, Hajia Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, is working very hard and trying to see how she can bring in the PPP to give their own contributions towards the upliftment of sports in Nigeria.
Infrastructure in education has been dilapidating, especially at the primary and secondary level. I visited a lot of schools in the past few years, mostly primary schools, and it is a sad commentary on the state of our nation that you go to primary schools and find out that in one classroom there are over 100 students.
Concerned stakeholders at the event, including former international footballers, expressed support for the initiative, noting that it will aid child development in all spheres.
We are promoting and we will be organising a football academy when we're doing our expansion next year. We're building a new building at the back which will be post-16 education. And alongside this we'll be running a football academy with a water football academy as well.
I'm happy to be here and also see such a thing in our nation and also to bring life to the younger generation.
It's not just about sports, it's also about the youth, which are, close to 70% of our population. We understand that skills, the definition of skills in the workplace today is changing. Everybody needs to have a hint or an advanced level of technology, as well as sports. Sports itself is very technical in a lot of areas, in all areas, so to speak.
When we were growing up, things like this was not in existence. And if we see set of people or individuals trying to build up things like this, I think we should emulate and just encourage. That is why you see me and my colleagues are here to be part of this.
It's more important to have a holistic child
someone who's not just good educationally, but someone who's also good in other facets of life. And one of the things that we decided to do was to bring in as much sporting activities as possible. So we've linked up with the Water FC in Abuja to make that possible in terms of soccer.
It's not about education every time. It's for the kids to live a healthy style of life, to be physically fit. Some of them will make it through sport, some of them will make it through education.
The Water Football Academy is a renowned sports academy that has invested so much in grassroots sports development in Nigeria. Its latest collaboration with the Waldorf Knoll Academy, launching a world-class sports education, will be the first educational center in Africa to facilitate education via the latest digital technology. Adeshawa Odushoga, TV360, Abuja.
And that's it on News Now. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.